Welcome to Mission Driven Founders, where passion meets purpose. If you're dreaming of starting your own business, whether it's in beauty, wellness, or beyond, you're in the right place. We are going behind the scenes with inspiring entrepreneurs who are not just building brands, but driving real change. Subscribe, follow us for updates, and stick around. This conversation could be the spark that ignites your journey. Today, we're excited to introduce Hady Méndez, author and founder of Boldly Speaking. Hattie empowers underestimated professionals to self advocate, lead with impact, and thrive, while also helping organizations build more inclusive workspaces. Now, let's dive into Hattie's inspiring journey and see how she's contributing to our movement and making a difference in the world. Hattie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. We're excited to learn more about your book and the beautiful work that you do. Your brand's journey is truly inspiring. Can you take us back to the moment it all began? What sparked the idea, and how did you turn it into reality?
I never sought out to be a business owner and to have a brand. I, I, that was not part of, I guess, my goals and ambition. I worked in corporate for like 25 years. I was in banking and technology like most of my career, and I really thought that that's where I would like retire. I would retire with one of these big companies and, just kind of do the standard traditional work in corporate and then retire in corporate type of thing. But I got laid off back in 2023 unexpectedly. And layoffs aren't always the end of the world. Like most people, land on their feet and they get another job. But I was having trouble finding a job as someone who was probably older than a lot of the candidates that were out there. Um, yeah, I was just struggling to find a role that matched my interests and kind of where I was and the impact I wanted to make. And so I decided to use the layoff and the time away from work to build my own business. So I said, I'm going to start the business. I've always wanted to do this. So I know this sounds a little bit contradictory to what I originally said, but there was a part of me, even though I thought I would stay in corporate forever, that wanted to start a side business that maybe I could use like for retirement purposes. And so, but I was afraid to do it and nervous and scared to do it. And so this kind of like really forced my hand. And so I started what I thought would be a side hustle, and it ended up being a business that I've been nurturing and growing for the last 2.5 years. And it's called Boldly Speaking. And I think it's in and of itself, it's an inspiring a business name because it really reminds me that not only is it necessary for us to advocate for ourselves and speak up and step into our power, but we need to do so boldly. We're going to get left behind if we don't. No one's going to come and save us. Many of us are waiting for invitations or permission that never comes. We just have to like own it. We're there. We've been, we're in either in a role that we've been hired to do, or we've been brought in by an outside organization. Like in my case, when a company brings me in, that's it. That's my invitation to step into my power and to say all the things that need to be said and to really inspire and motivate the people that are in front of me.
That's such a beautiful story. And I love the name, Boldly Speaking, because that's something very hard to do, especially, well, sometimes, especially in a corporate environment, right? Or
Yeah,
even in families and friendships. Sometimes it's hard to speak boldly, and boldly doesn't mean without respect, right? It's not disrespectful,
correct.
but it's boldly, like you have to own your truth. I love that. So, who is your ideal audience, and how do you see your guidance making a real difference in their lives? How do you connect with your audience on a personal level?
Yes, I would say I have two audiences, but with the same goal in mind. So I often work with other businesses, obviously much larger businesses. So a tech company and a product company, it could be a nonprofit organization, it doesn't really matter, but an organization, a business of any kind will usually bring me in to either work with their employed resource groups or just to talk about inclusion and belonging more broadly as a topic. And so I get brought in for Hispanic Heritage Month, maybe for Women's History Month, or kind of anything in between. So I've talked to a very broad audience at companies, and usually it's around culture and belonging and inclusion, like those areas. And then I also like working with employee resource group leaders, or what a lot of people know as ERG leaders. So, and these people are people that I think they would identify as underestimated, underrepresented in many cases. And those are the kind of people that I like working with, because that's who I was for 25 years. I was very underestimated and underrepresented in the spaces that I occupied. And so that's a lived experience that I'm very familiar with. And I feel like it gives me, I know what I'm talking about when I'm in that space. I understand what it feels like. I know that it's hard. I know that there's times when we're in a room, and even though we're invited into the room, that doesn't mean that we automatically feel like we belong in the room. And oftentimes, it doesn't feel like people want to hear what we have to say, and I know because I've been there. And so, and I know that there's obstacles, and I know that sometimes, we're lucky or we're fortunate, and we get a group of people that are really responsive and are very interested and engaged and supportive. And then there's other times where people don't want to listen to what we have to say. And they could be just dismissive people in general, but like, you step into I guess a room and get that kind of response, it kind of, might make you feel like I don't want to speak up the next time because I don't want that to happen again. And so all my lived experiences help me to either help organizations that are trying to build, and foster culture that's going to be, help everyone succeed and be a space where everyone can thrive, or to work with leaders individually that are looking for extra support or looking to be a little bit more brave and bold in the work that they're doing and in the spaces they occupy.
Now, a question, a behind the scenes, the grassroots moment of your business. When you started, when you decided to turn this into a business, did you focus mainly on the employees, or did you start going directly to the organizations? And how did you create your list and prospecting? How did it all start for someone who's starting their business right now? How did you like take the first step?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I was a DEI professional. My most recent role before I got laid off was head of equality for a major tech company.
Mm.
And so I was already, doing the work that I wanted to do and in that space. And when I started my business, I had people coming to me and saying like, "Hey, dude, can you come speak at our event? Can you come talk, for Women's History?" Because I started it like in February of 2023. So people were hiring me for Women's History Month. And then like some people were hiring me to moderate like sessions for Pride and things like that. So I already had a decent network of people that knew me and knew my work and knew like kind of the impact that I wanted to make. And so a lot of people approached me. And I won't say that that's all it's been, because that's not true. Like it's hard to get addition. I want to grow and expand beyond my network. And so, I've invested a lot of time and energy on LinkedIn to build my brand. So I already thankfully was building my brand before the layoff happened. And then after the layoff happened, I was like, now I really got to like, double down on building my brand and really getting my name out there and making sure people understand what I represent, the experience that I bring to the table. Like as an example, I like working with ERG leaders, but what makes me uniquely qualified to work with ERG leaders is that I was an ERG leader. I started an ERG. I was an ERG like executive sponsor. I was the head of equality, where I oversaw all the ERGs at that particular company. And so I have like worked in the ERG ecosystem, like in almost every possible role. So that gives me a unique perspective and point of view when I'm working with ERG. So now I advise DEI leaders and ERG leaders in how to like either launch an ERG program or how to like hit refresh and like relaunch, or maybe just get people out of a rut. Like sometimes the ERG programs are launched and then they kind of like fall flat, people get burnt out. And so I have strategies in my back pocket from my lived experience about how to like re-energize the groups or get leaders to really step into their power, or for them maybe to view their roles a little bit differently. Like a great example is that a lot of companies don't see ERG leaders as a source of like leadership, like a leadership pipeline, but it really is. Like those are your future leaders if you really, take a step back and think about like what they're doing and how invested they are in the company. And most of the time it's people from underrepresented groups, which represents a lot of diversity and a very broad perspective. So when you tap into talent that maybe usually goes untapped, you really are building a culture where more people can thrive. And so I really try to get organizations to view it that way.
Do you feel like this business is something you should have started way before, or do you think you started at the right time when
Oh,
you're ready for it?
oh my gosh, the way DEI has been under attack, I absolutely started at the wrong time, let me tell you. I wish I started this in like 2019. That would have been a good time to start it. But 2023, it's been rough. I'm not gonna lie. And so that actually is what led me to my most recent project. I spent the better part of the last year writing a book, and I have the book right here. It's called Calladita No More.
I want to hear all about this book.
Yeah,
I'm so
and
excited.
I started writing this book because I'm like, boy, companies, they're going through it. A lot of I won't say that a lot of companies are necessarily moving away from DEI, but I think everyone is a little bit nervous about the best way to do that. And, so a lot of people are like just hitting pause and trying to regroup. And some people have like started to defund or like maybe lower the amount of investment they're making. But my book, Calladita No More, is all about like the Calladita No More literally translates to silent no more. And it's very much in line with this boldly speaking, it's all related. And it's all about like, for a long time, I felt like I personally, so the book is my memoir. It's about me and my experiences. For a long time, I kind of walked around like not being sure about how to step into my power, how to take up space, how to use my voice, how to influence people, how to like, make my point of view heard. There was a lot of times where I just kind of sat there silently and thinking like, I'm not really sure how to best show up for myself, and I had to learn over time how to do that. And so I feel like this is so I wrote the book. That's what the book is about. It's about the lessons that I learned over my journey. And I feel like this is like really good stuff that a lot of people could learn from. I wrote it for Latinas and women of color in mind, with Latinas and women of color in mind. But I think the lessons are universal. It's all about like just building your confidence, being someone who, like speaks up for yourself, who asks for help, who is like preparing and getting ready for things that are coming. Like you never know when you want things, but you don't know when they're going to come for you. And so like just staying ready for them and like doing the work, so to speak, to being open and ready to receive. So I talk a lot about like what's meant for you is not going to pass you by. And anyway, there's like lots of other lessons that I include in the book, and I'm excited for the doors that this book will open for me. That's kind of what I'm sort of like phase two of my entrepreneurship journey.
The name is fantastic. I love it. It caught my attention the moment I read, from your PR. I was like, this is a book that I need to read. I need to learn more about Hattie.
Oh,
Amazing book.
good.
And I love, the name Calladita No More. This is something that everyone has to read, everyone has to learn.
Yeah.
So many times I've, silenced myself, and so many other people silence themselves. And that that is detrimental to your physical health, to your mental health, to the environment that you're in.
Yes.
So
All
I I adore the name, and I can't wait to read it and learn more and more. So let's talk about something that we are passionate about here at Crunchy Mama Box, which is the giving back chain, where brands and clients unite to support the planet and community. And I believe that your book, Caladita No More, is a powerful way to give back. So you already told us what inspired you to write it, and Do you have any other initiatives that you would like to share with us that support the community in addition to the book, of course?
Mhm.
And how do you encourage the leaders and organizations you coach in, to embed giving back and being inclusive into their missions, into their companies?
I'll start with the last part of that first, and then I'll go to the book. But yeah, it's interesting because a lot of uh, I like this question quite a bit because a lot of ERGs leaders that I speak with or companies that I talk to, and I started to mention about how some organizations are hitting pause, some of them are defunding or investing a little bit less in their ERGs until they sort of figure out where they're going next. And so a lot of ERG leaders get very nervous and they're like, I only have X amount for the whole year. What do I do with what's the best way I can spend my money? And I tell them, don't worry because you could always do community service. Community service is free, meaning there's no investment required on behalf of the organization or the ERG, but there's a lot of value in what you could pour back into the community. And that is a great way to sort of get everybody on the same page, get people to meet each other, get people to get comfortable and start trusting each other so that other great activities and initiatives can take place within an ERG. But doing community service together, I think, is a super way for organizations for ERG members to really kind of fill in the gap when there's not a lot of money, but there's a lot of interest, and it's a great way to galvanize memberships and members. I know that there's one ERG that I know that's bringing me in this year, and they didn't have a lot of money. So they said, hey, we're gonna buy your books and will you come and do a book signing? And I said, yeah, I'll do that. And when I'm doing the book signing, they're also doing a little bit of like networking. And part of the networking is that they're inviting their members to make a donation to a nonprofit that is working with the Latinx community. And then that organization, that company, it always, when you donate a certain amount, they match. So now they're doing the book signing, they're doing networking, and they're inviting their members to make a donation and give back to the community, to a very specific organization that is helping lift more members of their own community. So I'm like, I love that. That I want to be part of all day long.
Your work created a mega ripple effect.
Yeah, I like that.
Yes,
To me,
fantastic.
that's something that I would always say yes to things like that because I feel like it's aligned with me. And to answer your question about what else I offer, so in addition to all the ERG work that I do and the workshops and the speaking engagements, I'll talk about two things in particular. One thing is that I host a LinkedIn Live, probably every week, but sometimes I take a week off because I'm like tomorrow I'm off because I'm traveling, but um I host a LinkedIn Live called Latinas Front and Center, where I spotlight Latinas. And I've done it for about a little over a year now. I have over 40 interviews that I've done. And these are Latinas that have healthcare, marketing, accounting, authors, creators, everything. And that has been
Amazing.
really rewarding and fun, just shining a light on other people. It warms my heart to be able to shine the light on others. And it's like, I talk about this in my book. It takes nothing away from me to shine the light on someone else. I'm going to celebrate with other people, and hopefully other people will celebrate when it's my turn. So I think a good leader knows that you share the spotlight, and it's like, today's your turn, tomorrow's mine, and we all get to celebrate each other. And so I've done that, and that's been very rewarding for me. And I also have an offering that it's like a coaching, but it's like a one-time coaching, and it's called the Power Session for Mujeres. And it is a session that really anybody can take advantage of, but it's meant to be like, if you're stuck, if there's just something you're struggling with, and but you can't really afford ongoing coaching, but you just kind of need a sounding board to just kind of get unstuck. That's what my Power Sessions for Mujeres does. And it's been really fun so far to partner with women. Mostly I've worked with women, but really anybody is welcome. And just try to, see, I find it a personal challenge to be like, okay, how are we going to get you unstuck? I see the problem, how do we work through this? And that's fun for me, and hopefully provides a lot of value to the people that I work with.
I Okay, I love that. And I want you to be on our Crunchy Connect meetings because we have women founders at Crunchy Mama Box, and every month we meet for an hour and we talk about our challenges and even our wins, and we direct each other, we guide each other to where we want to go to the next step. So oh my gosh, if you ever want to, I know this is your time to shine, but really I would love to have you speak to these ladies, and who knows, maybe even have a coaching session with them,
Love
because
that. That sounds like fun.
oh my gosh, you are
I like
amazing.
that. I know everybody doesn't, but like I see it as a fun, it's a fun challenge to try to solve for things. And I feel like, my career was mostly built in tech and working with customers. And that's what, they always brought their problems to me. They're like, we're trying to solve for this thing. And it's like, okay, ready, set, go. It's like, how do we solve for this? And, obviously there's like lots of ways to solve for anything. But like, I love that whole like brainstorming and then like, okay, here, let's try these three things and see which one works the best. And that's usually how it goes for me. I come up with a power plan for everybody, and then that's sort of their takeaway from the session.
A power plant sounds perfect. And okay, so you're building your brand, you have your book, and it's a journey with highs and lows, right? There's always, we see a lot of the highs right now. You're very successful, you are getting your book out there, you have your clients, but share with us a particularly challenging moment that you faced, how you overcame it, and what lesson it taught you as a founder in this phase, right? That you're now a business owner, a founder, you're
Yeah.
on your own.
I would say that there were definitely moments and many months, especially in the first 2 years, where I was not regularly getting income. And so, I'd get booked and then it would be 2 or 3 months before I get booked again. And, everyone was trying to sell me a marketing solution and a list and like, go after this person. And, when I would meet with other entrepreneurs, they're like, you gotta cold call and you gotta like be messaging people on LinkedIn and you gotta like come up with your list. And I never did any of those things. So shame on me. Maybe not, but like I didn't subscribe to that. That didn't feel authentic to me. And I'm very part of my brand is being authentic, and just like cold calling people and like being very transactional did not feel like the route that I wanted to go through. I didn't want to go that route. And I didn't do it. And so there were times where I had to dip into my savings. Thankfully, I had it. And I just said, I'm gonna, it didn't work out. I was like trying to talk to a few people that like I have relationships with. It didn't work out, maybe in the future. I had to learn to, number one, when someone said no, it was like to reframe that as a not right now, so that I didn't feel like the door is closed in perpetuity, but it's like, it's no for now. And, maybe when there's more money or maybe when there's a different opportunity. I just like right now, even there was a company that recently was like, we can't bring you on for Hispanic Heritage Month like we wanted to, but I actually see an opportunity for you to work at a higher level within the organization with all of the ERGs. Is that something you're interested in? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So like, that is like a valuable lesson to just be like reframe. Maybe it's not this, but it could be that. So, and also, I am happy with my choice and decision to not be transactional and not buy the list and not do the cold calling and not do the, drop in. And I actually can't stand when people are contacting me on LinkedIn and they're like, hi, I wanted to connect with you. And then they just, go into a whole long thing about how they can be my virtual assistant or something else. And I'm like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to meet potential partners that way. Like that's just not how, I'm not interested in like doing business that way. I don't do it, and then that's not what I want to be done to me. So I'm just really thankful that I was able to be in relationship with people, plant seeds that bore fruit over time. And so over time, people are coming back to me, and it's like someone I met 2 years ago, someone I met 3 years ago, someone from high school just reached out to me. People from college reach out to me all the time. And so I feel like that is how I want to do it, because these are people that know me, that it's more rooted in common, like we have a common ground, we have a like alignment in terms of our mission. And that's what I want. I don't want to just be randomly calling people. I have no idea how to tell like if what you're doing is related, is aligned with what I'm trying to do. So I rather take the time to build the relationship and over time see where that takes me. And so that's what I've stayed with. And that was a difficult decision, but that was a decision that I stand by and I'm happy I made.
That shows a lot of confidence, and also that you're sticking to your values because
Yes.
you're not doing what everybody is telling you to do, because everyone has an opinion about our business, right?
Yeah.
You should be doing this, you should be doing that. Even if sometimes we don't ask their opinion,
Yeah.
they know that we're
That
doing
bothered me.
things wrong.
That bothered me a lot in the beginning. I really felt like telling people, but nobody asked you. Like, because I really felt like I was getting a lot of unsolicited advice. And I got to the point where I had to like say, I know they're trying to be helpful, and I'm gonna try to receive it, just to make sure, like receive it and make sure that there wasn't something, maybe a little lesson that I could learn from it, but also be clear with people and say thank you, I appreciate it, I'll let you know if I need any more suggestions, but like also kind of have a good boundary, because I didn't like it. It made me feel so bad about myself, and I had to really protect myself from that.
Setting boundaries is important also, so that it doesn't affect your confidence.
Yeah.
Because if somebody comes up to you and says, "Oh, you are not here yet because you haven't done what everybody's doing, and this trend and that trend," but your work is not what everybody is doing.
Yeah.
Your work is unique
Yeah.
to you, to what you're bringing to the table. If it were something that everybody was doing, then it wouldn't be unique. It wouldn't be you,
Yeah, I
right?
agree. And I think in the beginning, that is something that newer and younger, or early, how should I say it? People who are new in their entrepreneurship journey need to be very vigilant of that, because it really affected me my first year, all that unsolicited advice. And it's like, did you try this? Did you try that? And I'm like, I'm not even asking you. Like I want to have my business my way. Thank you. Like I'm good. And I finally had to get to the point where I said some semblance of that. Like, hey, thanks. I know you mean well. I'm good. I'll let you know if I need, maybe you could introduce me to someone or whatever. But like it did not, it was so unhelpful when people did that, because I was getting like even conflicting messages sometimes. So I would say like new early people on their early in their journey of entrepreneurship need to be very vigilant and careful, and just like yeah, just guard yourself against well-intentioned people that might really end up impacting, like you said, your confidence and how you're feeling about everything, because it's your business, you need to build it your way.
Exactly. And keep your eye on your goals, on your results, and don't let distractions like, "Oh, you should be doing this," and then you enter into another project. That happened to me as well. And then you enter into another
Yeah.
project. And then you just lose focus of what you were
Yeah.
wanting to do in the first
Yeah,
place.
and then it's not even stuff you wanted to do, and you're like, how did I end up way over here? I started out over here, and I'm over there. What
Exactly.
happened? So yeah, you have to be
Exactly.
really careful. You have to be very like grounded in your mission and your purpose. I think that's so important. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't have a lot of time to do that work, because I was like, I need to make some money because I'm broke and I'm unemployed. So I need to, get this show on the road. And I talk about this in the book. Like sometimes you have to build the plane as you're mid-flight, and you're like trying to build it and fly it at the same time, and that is not an easy thing to do. And it feels much better, like 2 and 3 years later, where you're like, I'm done with that part. That part was a little scary, but like
Right.
now we're in cruise control. I know where I'm headed. I have my co-pilot, or like several people that are on my team now, and I know what direction I'm moving in, and I feel like I'm getting closer, and I can start to see like what's coming on the horizon, and that feels really good. But it's a little messy in the beginning, and so it's on so many levels. I feel sorry for people who are in the beginning stages. It's very hard, and it's so easy to give up. It's so easy to give up.
It really is. But don't give up, people. Shift, pivot, change, something here or there, but don't lose focus,
Yeah.
and don't let people influence you, because it's so easy to get lost in this sea of overwhelming information and advice and what everybody's doing, and sometimes you think that somebody's successful and they're not.
Yeah.
On social media everything looks beautiful, but what happens behind the scenes? So focus on your business and what you're
Yes.
doing.
Yes, that's a solid advice right there. Focus on your business and use other people for inspiration, but like don't get too caught up in someone else because that is also can be quite damaging and harmful to you. Like you are running your race, understand what is it that you want to accomplish. Somebody else could be really successful, and if they are, then just, maybe you could get some inspiration from them, ask them for a little support or advice, but like remember that it's your race that you're running, and don't get too wrapped up in like other people's journey and what they're up to, because that's not what you're doing necessarily. You're doing your thing, and your thing is special. Like you said, your thing is your thing. You're the only one doing it potentially. So like focus on that and focus on making that really special, and providing the most value you can in the thing that you know how to do and maybe you uniquely know how to do.
Stay authentic, like Hattie. Stay authentic and don't lose yourself.
Yeah, it's really hard too. So I just want to say, like you said, we stick with it. Don't give up, and just really, I guess, try to invest as much time as you can to finding the thing that's making you special. That's, I would think, very good advice.
Hattie, your work aligns beautifully with the CNB certification values: transparency, education, authenticity, and social impact. How do you see these principles empowering underestimated professionals and organizations to create lasting change? And given this alignment, how do you feel programs like the CNB certification could support and amplify the impact of leaders and coaches like yourself?
Yeah, I don't admittedly know a lot about the program, but I love what it stands for. So I already know that it is aligned. For me, that's critical because I think it's related to authenticity. So if you're really clear on what is important and the impact you want to make, and you know the values that are going to get you there, then I think it's easy to know what to say yes to and what to say no to. So you're like, oh, this is a no-brainer. There's already so much, alignment. That sounds like, slam dunk. And conversely, sometimes things appear like they might be in alignment with you, and then you kind of like look under the hood and you're like, maybe not so much. Like that really doesn't feel like it's in alignment with me. On the surface, maybe, but after I do a little bit of double click, I can appreciate that maybe this is not the thing for me. So I use that is my how I do yes. That's my litmus test, if you will. So I'm like, what is the impact they're looking to make? What are their values? What's the purpose? Does that align with me? Yes or no? And it's pretty, so it makes life a lot easier. And I will tell you that in the times when I have not um, aligned myself with organizations that meet that criteria, I've often regretted it. And I kind of know it from the beginning. I'm like, this feels like a gamble because it doesn't quite feel aligned. And sometimes, I'm willing to take the risk and sometimes I'm not. But I would say, for to answer your question directly about how this helps underestimated people, I mean, we, sometimes it feels like we don't have a lot of room to mess up. That's one thing that I could say about underestimated people. It's like you got to be perfect, or that's like how it feels. It feels like you can't make mistakes. So I think aligning yourself with like sure things is a lot better than gambling and being like, this might work but maybe not, or like this feels like this is very much gonna align with what I'm trying to do. I'd rather go with the safe bet personally, just because, like I said, I don't have a lot of room to make mistakes.
I agree. I agree, but also, I mean, there is a situation where some kinds of people, unfortunately, in this world can't make as many mistakes as others can. However, we have to be very like kind to ourselves also,
Yes.
not let ourselves get so overstressed, overwhelmed, and just we have to also take care of our mental health because it
Yes.
affects everything around us, our physical health, our family, our friendships. So I agree with that, and I do think that we have to be aware of how, some people cannot make as many mistakes as others, but we also have to be kind to ourselves because,
Yeah.
my
I'll, I'll
goodness.
I'll say something about that. And I talk about this in the book. None of us are perfect. So, we're perfectly imperfect. We personally, I still make mistakes all the time. And that there's a saying in Spanish, eso pasa, which is that happens. It happens. Like it's bound to happen. For as much as we want to make the right choices and want to be completely aligned and want to choose, and be like, oh, we have to, this is such an important decision. I want to get it right. We still might make the wrong decision, present company included. And when it happens, I acknowledge that, like, hey, yeah, like this was a mistake. How do I get back on track? So
Right.
like, there's another saying in Spanish, like no te desespere, which is like don't like be don't don't be too hard on yourself. Like you can't despair. Like it's like, okay, that didn't work out how I thought it was going to work out. How do I get back on track? And then just be strategic about that. So for me as a leader, as someone with a lot of experience, I know when I was younger, boy, so many things used to, I think about the things that used to upset me and I laugh now because I'm like, I was so silly. So
It's
many things.
true.
I was like, oh my God, the world's going to end. It's like, no, the world is not going to end. You just have to be like, okay, you know what? I could have made a better choice. And how do I like kind of get myself back on track? And sometimes I can do it right away. And sometimes it's going to take a little bit of time to get back to where I need to be. And I give myself that grace that you talked about. And I also learn so that the next time, I could recognize the patterns, the behaviors, the thing that I'm like, you know what, that feels a lot like this other time. And I think I'm going to not do that thing again because I remember how that ended up. And so you learn, you live and you learn.
Exactly. I think that most of our mistakes, they are lessons, right?
Yes.
They teach us, they guide us towards the next step and the
Yeah.
next step. And there's always going to be mistakes. And of course, there's mistakes that are very, very serious, but most mistakes that seem like the end of the world to us at that moment are actually not. And
Yeah.
they take us into the next step.
Yeah.
You are phenomenal. I love your work, and I want you to share your email, your website, how to
Okay.
contact you, LinkedIn, every possible way. And we will also leave that on the notes, on the
Okay.
description. And please share how to reach out to you.
Okay. Well, I guess if you're interested in the book, the website is calladitanomore.com. So it's, if to the degree that you know how to spell calladita, which is with two L's, then the rest should be pretty easy. You
It
could
will
also,
be written down on the description.
okay, great. And then also my website for like all my business, so like for my company where I work with ERG leaders and do workshops and all that, is called bolyspeakingllc.com. And you can get to my book website from there as well. So if you go to bolyspeakingllc.com, you'll get everything. I'm on LinkedIn under Hady Méndez, just as you see my name appear here. I'm on Substack, and I'm on Instagram under Calladita No More Book. So Calladita No More Book, I'm goofy on Instagram. Just fair warning to everybody, but I like using the music feature, and sometimes I dance, and sometimes I dance by myself or with a vacuum or whatever is
That's
around me. But like, yeah, I try to have fun. Fun is really important to me. It's part of what keeps me, I think, grounded. So some of it is like diet and exercise, and then the rest of it is like fun and just yeah, like I think what you said about being giving yourself that grace and acknowledging that you can't do everything, you can't be everything. You just, do the best you can, do better tomorrow, and give yourself that grace and space to keep learning and growing and doing better.
amazing. Thank you, Heidi, for sharing your inspiring journey and for all the work you do to create a more conscious world. You've shown us that businesses can be truly a force for good. And to everyone watching, remember that every choice we make can shape the future. So let's choose wisely, live intentionally, and support those who are making a difference. Stay inspired, stay motivated, and let's keep building a brighter future together.